Good morning. I will go ahead and do roll call for the Outreach and Community Engagement Subcommittee. Scott Parsons.
Scott is here. That's me. I'm a full voting member of the CAB and resident of Moraga.
Okay, and you're the chair.
And the chair, thank you for that.
No worries. Mark Thomas.
Yeah, I'm here. Part of CAB, live in East County. And that's
okay. Nikenya.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Nikenya, and I have been a member of this committee for about a year now.
Okay. And Joel, if you could introduce yourself, please. Joel, can you hear me? Maybe he's still signing on. We can come back to Joel if you like. We can open it up for staff. I'll go ahead and introduce myself. I'm Monique Tate. I'm the program coordinator for the Office of Reentry and Justice. And I will ask Elisa to introduce herself.
Good morning, everyone. Elisa Robinson with the Office of Supervisor Diane Burgess.
Okay. And we have other CAB members present. I'll ask Crawford Carpenter to introduce himself.
Crawford Carpenter, CAB member.
Okay, and Dale Harrington.
Dale Harrington, CAB member, Central County.
Okay.
Thanks to Mark, by putting where in the county he is, I added Central County. Thanks, Mark.
Oh, good. Perfect. Joel, can you hear us?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, if you could please introduce yourself as a CAB member.
Hello, Joel Nicholson Shanks, Contra Costa College, first meeting.
Okay, all right. Chair Parsons, the floor is yours. You could do the welcome.
Okay, well, welcome everyone to our July 19th Outreach and Community Engagement Committee meeting, which is the subgroup of the Community Advisory Board, otherwise known as CAB. Here are some of the rules of engagement for our meeting this morning. For those in the public, when not speaking, please keep your Zoom status on mute to minimize the potential for background noise. For participants calling in on a cell phone, you can use *6 to mute and *6 again to unmute. We'll hear comments first from board members that are on this call, and then from the public by raising your hand. The purpose of the OCEC committee is to assist the Greater CAB in gathering and providing information pertaining to the county's efforts in criminal justice reinvestment. To that end, some of our responsibilities at OCEC is to identify outreach methods, to engage the community regarding initiatives related to public safety realignment, to improve public access to information regarding realignment, and to provide membership cultivation and succession planning for CAB. Also, to help facilitate the CAB's ambassador program and to organize the annual new member orientation. We are grateful to all of those members that have joined us this morning. We very much appreciate everyone's commitment to this subcommittee. So with that said, do we have any citizens visiting us that wanted to introduce themselves this morning? Monique, can you see?
Okay, yeah, so everyone has introduced themselves. At this point, you can see if there are any announcements.
Got it. Any announcements from anyone on this call this morning for OCEC? Okay, and we're open at this point to public comment on any item under the jurisdiction of the Community Advisory Board and not on this agenda. So, none being heard, I think we can go right into number 3 on our agenda, which is approval of the minutes from our last minute meeting of OCEC, which was on June 21st. And I have read those minutes, so I don't need to review them. But for others that are on this call, Monique, I assume you're getting ready to scroll through those.
Can you guys see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, good, good. Thank you.
And you're right on them as we speak. Okay, thank you for scrolling through those, Monique. Can I have a motion for accepting these minutes by somebody on the call?
Hi, this is Nikenya. I motion that we approve the minutes of last meeting.
All right, do we have a second for approval of these minutes?
Yes, I second the motion.
All right, thank you to both of you. We're now open for discussion by board members or standing committee members that are present. All right, hearing none, we'll go on to public comment if there's anyone that would like to comment on those minutes. Not hearing any. Monique, can we do a count?
Yes, yes. Scott?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Nikenya?
Aye.
And Joel?
Can I abstain?
Yes, you can.
Yeah, I'll go their way.
Okay, so motion passes with 3 yeses and 1 abstention.
All
Good
right.
morning, everyone. Sorry I'm late.
Okay, Lenita has joined us. Lenita, would you like to vote on the minutes if you reviewed them?
Yes, I did review them and I.
Okay, all right, so we actually have 4 yeses and 1 abstention. So motion passes with 4 yeses and 1 abstention. Okay.
Excellent. With that said, we'll move on to item number 4, which is a standing item, and that's to discuss applications for new membership. And I believe at this point we have none. Is that correct, Monique?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. And we also, as a matter of standing item, have the assignment status, and that's the general CAB and OCEC subcommittee staffing. So,
right.
Do you have that up? You sure do.
Yeah. So one thing I want to make a quick comment. I haven't added Michelle Carter to the vacancy that you all voted on in CAB because it has to be approved on September 16th through CCP. And so once that's approved after the 16th, I will update her into that seat. So it'll continue to look like this until that happens. I just wanted to mention that prior to any conversation.
So you just identified the only item that I saw as potentially maybe needing correction. So otherwise,
okay.
I have no other comments about this document.
Okay.
Are there any others that may want to comment?
This is Crawford. May I comment on the first part, Scott?
Oh, please.
You'll notice on the top half of your grid, you should remove me as the chair of OCEC.
Perfect. Thank you for catching that.
And add Scott as the chair of OCEC.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I will definitely do that. Thank you for catching that.
All right. Thank you.
Actually, I saw that, but I wasn't going to comment because. But yeah, no, that's good. I think we mentioned it last meeting as well. So the only other comment, now that you've recognized that, I have seen under OCEC that it shows me as the chair and the recorder. I just, again, have to kind of comment to that it's difficult to chair a meeting and to properly record it. So my only comment then to Monique would be, have my backside on all the little points as we go, if you'd be so kind.
Absolutely. We will definitely support you until one of the members can become a recorder, which is essentially a note taker. And I can speak to them individually if they'd like to know what it entails.
Sounds excellent.
Okay. One more thing I want to add, if I may. Now that we do have Michelle being voted in as a member and approved on September 16th, we definitely want to fill in that alternate seat. So we still want to focus on outreach to ensure we always have 3 alternate members.
Absolutely. And in fact, that is part of my, for another agenda item, was to bring that up. So I'm glad you mentioned it in the event that I oversee or don't mention that. So good.
Right.
Yeah, we need to definitely start the recruitment on that, and that'll come under item number 6 on the agenda.
Okay. So yes. So I'm sorry, I did jump ahead, Chair, but I just kind of noticed it, and so I thought maybe I would say something about it. But we'll go ahead and go to the next item if you like, number 5.
Okay. So number 5, review updated support document for the CAB Ambassador program, or the guide. Every one of you probably have a copy of it printed in hand. And so, there were a number of folks that I think felt a little uneasy coming on to CAB as it related to the ambassador program. And even though I think everyone spelled out what the roles of the program were, it's still a fairly complex program. So both Crawford and I, to address that, had a couple of meetings, taking a look at all the steps. And I think, too, I'd have to give credit to Nikenya for writing a document as well that brought to light the fact that there's some confusion around the ambassador program. So that gave us impetus after Nikenya submitted her memo to, okay, how can we make this easier and have it be sequential? And so you can see with the ambassador program guide, basically table of contents right in front of you, the guide overview, there's like 9 steps that we considered. And obviously the first one is the, ambassador program executive summary, right? That's just, it'll help anyone that has questions. Okay, what is the ambassador program? And I had that question when I came on. I understood what an ambassador was, but I didn't know the depth of what the ambassador program was. So that'll give a person some ideas. And then we put in the ambassador assignments. And you'll see in this document, these are not the first part isn't the current assignments, because this was the one for last year, for 2021 assignments. But it gave at least a historical perspective on who was an ambassador to who and to what area of the county. And we felt that was important. We also felt it important to have the points of contact for the Board of Supervisors and the CCP executives. And the first illustration of that doesn't show phone numbers and contact information, but further in the document, it does when you start to plan your ambassadorship for 2022. And then we thought, okay, so that there's some consistency to communication, a sample correspondence requesting the ambassador meeting. So we supplied a sample letter of the of how to initiate the meeting, and then some tips for effective ambassadorship and conducting a meeting. And I'm hoping all of you have had a chance to kind of look at this. If you haven't, this will be going, this document, before the whole board, and we wanted to make sure we had, you know, OCEC input before it goes to the whole board. Now, Monique, there is a piece that is kind of missing, and that would be number 6. The sample outline for framing interview conversation. Mm-hmm. And I know that you and Carpenter have talked about this. It's just the version that I think you have here may not have that included yet. Is that correct?
That's correct. I will update it. And when I spoke to Crawford, I think you as a chair should just reiterate this at all times, that this is a working guide. So it will be updated. Like, for instance, when I first sent it out with the agenda to be posted, someone contacted me and gave me an updated phone number. So we will be updating this document on a regular basis. So yes.
Right. Sounds good. Now, just for everyone on the call, and for me, I have this question. As you update it and we prepare to put it on the agenda for CAB, how do we push that out first to OCEC for input? Can we, and I realize with the Brown Act in our meetings, we can't have another meeting. I wouldn't host a special meeting, but can we at least distribute documents for people to give input, even though it's not part of a formal meeting?
Absolutely, we can do that. What I do now to prevent violating the Brown Act is I blind copy everyone. So I send it to myself and then I blind copy each person. Okay. And so that's what I'll continue to do. And you also can always add this to your agenda, just like we established a guideline, and I don't remember who recommended it, but we put the work plan on every agenda now so that you could always look at that document as a guide. And if you'd like this actual ambassador guide to be put on throughout the year periodically, we can do that as well. And it can always be a topic of conversation, especially with the to show the updates. And then someone has a hand raised. Dale has his hand raised. I don't know if two people have their hand raised actually. So
yeah,
Lisa and Dale. Okay, go ahead.
This is Dale. I think what is really helpful is if you let's just say I was on the ambassador interviews last year at the county administrator's office. So I have a copy of the report that we submitted. But if a lead and their teammate do not have a copy of the report for whomever they're supposed to meet with, last year's report, it could be helpful just to give them a copy of that so they could see what was covered and what was reported last year. In my case, I have it because I was there, but there probably are leads that do not have a copy of the area that they're going to be reporting on.
So Dale, that is a really good point. And though we put in an example of an interview report, and that's jumping just slightly forward in this table of contents, but I think the point is so important. If I'm going to go meet with somebody that you met with last year, and you could help me to have more information so that we maybe cover new territory rather than just cover old territory, or try to resolve something that's already been resolved.
Right.
That makes total sense. And so that's something that I think when we meet as a CAB, and I'm glad Crawford, you're here as well, and we start to talk about this overall is that we have people as sources that have done these before, and that we should encourage people to contact them. And I, for instance, I just saw that I'm going to be on the courts. If somebody had talked to the courts last year, it'd be nice and helpful to know, what did that look like? How did that go?
Right. And that could also, by looking at that report, you may come up with some follow-up questions.
That's right.
For the current year, like you're saying. So yeah, that'll make it smoother, I think.
So I'm glad you mentioned that. Now, was there another hand up, Monique?
Yes, Elisa has her hand up.
Elisa.
This looks like a great document. I just have one comment on staff assignments for supervisors. I am the assigned staff for criminal justice. So if you put me down as, there's a couple different places, it'll be better to get in contact with me than Manny, who schedules everything for Diane. But I'm staying on top of what's actually happening in these committees. And then as well as under other attendees at the beginning for Supervisor Burgess.
Okay, so is that noted, Monique? Is that something you would change in this?
Yes, I would update the document. Elisa, can you either put your information in the chat, or you could email me the information, and then I'll have it to update the document.
Okay, and I'll put it in the chat just so everyone has it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
On everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Elisa, for that. Once number 6 is actually repopulated into the document, that is a very useful part that Crawford spent a lot of time on from his interview, and that was taking the talking points and kind of illustrating how you present those talking points in this interview. So that, and then this contact information that Elisa mentioned, will be important for the update. And the next 3 things, a lot of these are very obvious, but still, I think, important. Your notes from your interview, then the actual number 8, the report, which we have a form I think most of us are familiar with that you have to complete with the formal report from the interview, and then an example of a thank you note that would be sent to whoever our point of contact was, whether it be Board of Supervisor or CCP, a note of thank you for providing and offering that interview. So again, I want to thank Nikenya, because Nikenya, you had the courage to say what I think a lot of others were thinking. And
that's my superpower.
Is that it? All right.
Yes.
Well, cool. And you don't ever have to ask permission to give me advice. I'm open to it anytime. So I appreciate it. And so with that said, are there any other additions that we should share with Monique for this document before it goes forward? And I think, not seeing any hands up or just spontaneity on that. I believe the only thing that I kind of noticed is that we included an outdated CAB Ambassador Program members assignments. That would be page 5 of the document. Some of those are no longer valid. because of changes that have come along. So I guess once that document is, well, is totally updated, then we ought to update that in this document, right?
Yes.
Okay, I saw a thumbs up. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any other questions as it relates to the ambassador guide?
So I do. This is Lanita. I was looking at the ambassador guide that I received yesterday, and I noticed that we just got another one today. It might be updated, but I was wondering. My question is, I was wondering, are we supposed to be a lead on one, and what is the S for?
Second.
Second on the other one? Are we supposed to be second on both of them, or is there a process what we do? Oh, I see right here on this one, I'm a lead with the DA. Okay. Because on the one that I saw yesterday, I was a second on the DA and a second on the other committee. And I was wondering, do we just, because I'm new, do I just stay a second on every one, or how it works?
You know what, Lanita, that's a really good question to bring up. And, you know, the thinking, and Crawford, you certainly can jump in because you've got more history with this, but, you know, in any interview, when you have two people doing an interview, it's probably good to have a driver and someone in the passenger seat to a degree. Even though you're sharing the interview, only one should probably have those responsibilities of the lead interviewer. So there's that, and I'm guessing, Crawford, you may want to comment further about the experiential aspect of this, that because I see I'm a second on one of mine, and I'm glad to be a second on it because there's some people with more experience than me.
Exactly, and that's pretty much what I was asking was, do you do the second on both because we're new and we're kind of observing, or do we take a lead on one and a second on the other? Because on one of the forms, and the reason this came up for me was because on one of the forms I saw that I was a second on the DA and a second on the other committee, and then on one of the forms I saw that I was a lead on the DA and then a second on the other committee, and now on this form is back to what it was, a lead on this one, and then a second on that one. But then we have two leads with the DA now, so I don't know if we're supposed to have two leads or if one person is supposed to be a second, or how it works. But I see now that there's Ozzy as a lead and myself as a lead, and I'm happy to take the second because I don't know. But yeah.
So I'll comment and then Crawford, feel free to jump in.
Would you like me to display the updated form that we have?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That is not the updated. Again, this was put in here for the purpose of illustration. Once we decide on who will do what, where, and when, you will get the latest update, just as Alyssa indicated. She will be the contact. You know, this is, what is it? This is a growing document, and we will update it as necessary. Let's address your question of a second and a lead.
Yeah.
Last year, which was my first year, I was the second on both of the interviews that I attended. And I felt comfortable being the second. And we tried to take the newer people. And yes, if we thought or we wanted to put somebody in a lead, we would, but we wanted to ease you in gently, because if we ease you in gently, you won't be overwhelmed. And the whole point, I think, of many of these is some of the people were overwhelmed at first. And we don't want to put that pressure on you. The whole point was to say, come along for the ride. And then when Scott and I put item number 6, which you didn't see, we prepared basically an agenda, a boilerplate of how the two of you can work together and feed off of each other. So while one is talking, the other can take notes, and then the other person talks, then the other, then so you're flip-flopping back and forth, which allows you to get a breath, and it allows you to take notes, get your thoughts together, and then you're ready for the next phase. We have got that document. I'm sorry that it wasn't included here, because it would have been nice to walk you through how that would work, and it would show you the cadence. And again, these are just recommendations. If you have a better way of doing it and you are more comfortable with your own way, have at it. How's that for you?
Yeah, Lanita, this is Dale. Yeah, like Crawford, last year was my first year. And so it was really helpful for me to be the second last year, because the lead was the cab chair who termed out after last year. But boy, I was glad that the responsibility didn't fall on my shoulders. Yeah, so yeah.
So can you all see the form that I sent out yesterday?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is the form that Crawford and I worked on, and it has updates, and it can be revised again, but this is where we're at right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's perfect, because I didn't want to not know what I was doing. So.
Right. Very good point, Lenita.
And we do have 2 hands raised, Scott.
Okay, and I don't see any hand. Oh, I do. So Mark, yeah, do you have a question? Comment?
Yeah, on this chart right here, so I have the lead for the Sheriff's Department on this one. Before it was Nakenya. So is that what Nakenya wanted, to switch these? Because you were before, weren't you the lead going to the Sheriff's Department?
I was not the lead. I was working with a member who's been here for years.
Okay. And I think if I can interject a little bit. So I think part of looking at Nakenya's assignment as well as Mark's assignment, if you look at the columns going down vertically, so for Nakenya, she is the lead for probation. And then because Michelle is new, we put Michelle as a second. And then if you look at the Sheriff's Department, we have you, Mark, as the lead, and then a second with Michelle, the same scenario, right? So we really tried to take into consideration the new cab members if it were their first time. So that's the reasoning for that.
Okay, just making sure.
And to that point, Mark, I think, Crawford, you correct me if I'm wrong, but you strongly encouraged the lead and the second to have the meeting before the meeting, right? So that there's some understanding and agreement on how we're going to proceed through the talking points, so that there's no surprises or it's not awkward for the lead and the second. You'll know exactly what you're going to say and when. Right?
Exactly. And again, we go back to that document. Is there a chance you could put that document up without violating any procedures, Monique? Because that document, it shows you the pace, and the two of you would meet. And that's also in the instructions on our letters here, or our guide, where you can see what, for example, let's take Mark. Let me go to Sheriff's Department. We basically will script out a potential script for you, a potential script for Nakenya, and how the two of you will go back and forth working together. And we've got it scripted so that it gives you a chance to take a breath while Nakenya is talking and then vice versa.
That's excellent.
Yeah, and this is just our script. You'll take this script and you'll say, well, no, I don't quite want to approach it that way. I'm more comfortable saying A, B, C rather than D, E, F.
Right.
It's a Word document. You can clean it up, revise it, and make it so that the goal is it's got to be at your comfort level, Mark and Nakenya.
So Crawford, I think you're referring to that document that needs to be updated and added. I don't have it readily available. I'm sorry, but I will get it to the members.
If I can find it, could you do screen share with me if I could find it, or does that violate?
You know, I'm not 100% sure on that. So if it's okay with you all, I would rather us present it a little later.
Okay.
If that's okay.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
And then there's still, I think, you could finish, Crawford, but I think there's still 2 hands raised.
So
I'm finished.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I think I see Nakenya's hand up.
Okay.
Yeah, I was wondering, maybe I missed it. The talking points, did anybody say anything about that?
That, Nakenya, is exactly the piece that we're talking about that's missing. Number 6. And that's the part that Monique is saying she's going to, I guess, kind of proofread it and then insert it. So that was just an oversight, but you're exactly right. The talking points are probably the most important part.
Well, the other most important part is being able to contact the right people and get your interview. So that was something that I noticed. The person who was the lead the last time, she was very familiar with the department, so she was able to maneuver through it rather easily. I saw that I had a little bit of difficulty because I wasn't that familiar with the department. Sure. So they do give you a list of people to contact and who on that list you should contact, but we should also make sure that those numbers and those people are updated. I think I ran into some issues with that. So it's like the whole thing, not just like your talking points. It's good to know your talking points, but you have to kind of put them in or weave them into the interview as seamlessly as possible. And of course, make the connection in the first place to have a meeting that's going to work for everybody that's there.
Yeah. Well, and to your point, if we have a fixed set of talking points, it's going to feel very different, maybe speaking to the sheriff about those talking points versus the one that I would have with the courts. And, they're viewing the world from different angles, and we need to be somewhat flexible as we go into the fray. The talking points are just the start for all of us to kind of reference from.
Yes, and it was just, I remember for me, the talking points were not that easy to digest, It was like studying them. So it was, I was glad, as Dale said, that I had someone who had been here for years doing that for me, or doing that with me. But it was, like I still don't have her level of comfort and, for doing it. So.
We'll have you get that level of comfort where you won't even think twice about it. And that's what hopefully this will do for all of us, right? So, and that's the real purpose behind this guide. So Dale, did you have a question?
Yeah, Monique, does your office have the report from last year that was submitted for each of these partnerships listed, as well as the Board of Supervisors? For instance, I'm thinking if you have last year's report for the CAO, if you could provide that to the lead and the second, and then the same with the court, the lead and the second from the court report and so forth, that could really be helpful for those of us who are going to be contacting those members to view those ahead of time. Does your office have?
Absolutely, we do have them, and I can definitely provide each person with the previous reports and the executive summary, just for your reference to help you prepare for the upcoming meeting.
Yeah, wonderful. Wow. Yeah.
So there you go. That along with this guide, I think will start to fill in some of the blanks.
Yes.
So any other comments about the ambassador guide? I'm certainly going to work with Monique on this as well, and make sure we get everyone's comments so far in here, but there may be some more points. So do we have a hand up from anyone, Monique?
I don't see any hands up at this point. I'm going to stop sharing so I can see.
Nakenya's hand is up.
Okay.
I just needed to put it down. That was from.
Oh.
Okay. 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 So Lanita put in a message in the chat. Scott, have you seen it? Because we have quorum even if Lanita has to leave.
Oh, okay. Is that what Lanita's indicating in the that she pull out?
So I'm just saying that if you see me walking on that today is a very busy day today at work. We have 3 new people starting off site today, and I'm doing all of their logistics for this afternoon. But I am listening, and you guys are in my ear pod, but they don't know.
I'm sorry, Lanita, I didn't read the entire chat, but I do see you at the bottom where it says you're listening. And Mark, I saw your message you sent me. Yes, I can definitely resend out the document to everyone because we'll have updates as well. So I'll resend it out again.
So I will.
And this is a part of why I can't be the recorder on this meeting, because this meeting is during the workday.
So Lanita, I won't be offended and take it personal if you ditch me in the middle of the meeting.
No, I'm not going anywhere. I just may not be in this seat.
All right.
Lanita, just don't check out if you're interviewing through the ambassador program.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, well, good. This was a great discussion on this guide. And, you know, Crawford, I'm thinking back to some of our comments when we struggled through this. Just the mere fact that we're all talking about these things is going to, I think, have a positive effect on us being even more effective this year than we were last, and more effective the next year. So this is good. So one more time ask on agenda item number 5, reviewing the ambassador guide. Is there any other comment before we move on to number 6?
May I just have a comment, and maybe I shouldn't say maybe, I will direct it to our new people. And let's start with, we had a conversation yesterday, Joel. Does this ease your anxiety level a little bit on the ambassador program? Joel first, and then let me come over to Lanita while she's boogieing around over there and moving around. Joel, does this, the way that Scott has laid out this guide, does this ease your apprehension somewhat of the ambassador program and how to approach it?
Yeah, it's definitely helpful. I don't think, you'll be completely eased, as you said, until we do it, right?
Yeah.
And get to see it firsthand,
right.
But it definitely helps us to know kind of what we're getting ourselves into.
Great. And again, as they say, take a deep breath. That was what Scott and I were trying to do, put ourselves in everybody else's shoes and take that deep breath. Lanita, does this allow you to take that deep breath?
It does. And you know, I'm just really excited about the work that has gone into this, and I'm excited about getting involved and making it even more flexible and being able to fluctuate even more. So I'm excited about it. Yes.
Okay, and then one final, if I could circle back, Nakenya, we got to blame this on you. Come back on screen, doggone it, if you can. We're going to, when I say blame this on you, you were just so instrumental with the communication that you sent out and saying, hey, wait a minute, we need to speak up. We need to get our act together. So everybody really needs to you know, applaud Nakenya for getting the ball rolling. So,
well, thank you. I mean, my thing is, if I'm going to go out and be a spokesman in anything, I need to be educated and I need to be able to do it as professionally as possible. So I saw questionable moments there. So thank you for listening.
So to Joel's comment about it'll be afterward that he feels more confident. If you ask me before I chair a meeting how I'm doing, the answer is good. If you ask me after the meeting's done, I'm great because it's over, right? So there's that stress that comes with meetings. So that's just the way it rolls. So with that said, Crawford, you're done?
I'm done, yes, sir.
Oh, okay. I'll roll on to.
I just want to add one more comment about that.
Oh, sure.
So I've been here a year now. Today is my anniversary for 1 year with ORJ. And I've heard you all, thank you. I've heard you all talk about, thank you, Elisa. I heard you all talk about this guide, and I remember Nakenya's feedback that prompted this. So I've been hearing people talk about it for some time. So I really want to commend both you, Scott, and Crawford for taking it on to provide a document to make it easier for people to understand the process, right? And the reasoning behind the ambassador program, the history. So I commend both of you, and I commend all of you because you all have a certain amount of input with this project, but I do commend you all for taking it on, taking the challenge to update the guide and just to make it easier, because obviously we have several questions from new members and existing members. So I congratulate both of you for taking it on, and it's going to be a beneficial document for everyone as you move forward with the ambassador program.
Well, thank you for those comments. And I think we're all pretty fortunate in this group with all the talent, staff, and volunteers that are on the board, what we bring. And I feel like a lot of people have helped me along the way too, to understand things. So now with that said, going to number 6 on this agenda, I don't know who wrote this document, but they're not age 68 like me. That this font is so small. Crawford, did you do this?
No.
The work plan, because I can barely see it besides critique it. But in any event, I did get to finally see it in a size for item number 6 here, the work plan. And it's the OCEC piece. And, you know, it's a helpful document to kind of understand the steps of the different things that we're engaged in OCEC. I think the document tries to achieve a lot because, you know, you've got the task, you've got the outcome goals, you've got the timeline, and you have who's responsible, all on an 8.5 by 11. So it's kind of one of those, it takes a moment to digest. So I guess what I'm speaking to is a format issue at some point. Monique, because you're far more capable than me, I may take some advice on how we can make this, because see, it looks beautiful on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's this version that, you know, makes me feel like I put my glasses down and can't find them. In any event, the one thing that I drew out of this was under the membership cultivation, because of the vacancy, and you brought this up, Monique, earlier,
Right.
because of the vacancy of one of our alternates, Michelle, right, who's now going to be a voting member, we need to start the recruiting process and marketing process for CAB, so that we can start to establish a pool of names, hopefully, of people interested in serving in this capacity. So can you, historically, I'm not the one that knows best here. I think probably Monique, you have an understanding, and Crawford, you have an understanding. So Monique, what steps occurs next here?
So what I understand is that due to the alternate vacancy, we can do outreach from ORJ to reach out to the different bodies that have circulated our information. So we would go to the contacts for the Board of Supervisors. They send out regular newsletters to their constituents and their community areas, the districts that they're part of, and other people. It's wider than that. So they'll send it out, and they have been really gracious enough to include the information. And I believe we've received responses as a result of that. So we have other partners and providers that will do outreach, help us with outreach, and include it in their email list. And so that's something we can definitely work on, to notify everyone that we have an alternate position that's open and we're accepting applications. And so, and just word of mouth, we have, obviously that's what we've asked, you all ask CAB members to do as a whole, to do outreach, and the same with us internally. So that would be the next step. I can work on distributing that information to be included in newsletters and email lists. And then Kenya has her hand raised. Actually, two people have their hand raised.
Oh, okay. So Alyssa, you have a comment here? Question?
More of a question. So having attended a few of these meetings in our job and just the different criminal justice committees, I've seen the process of people applying and getting selected for these. So is it possible to put together a list of people that have applied in the past that maybe haven't been chosen to serve, and reach out to them, do some targeted outreach for people that are actively engaged and wanting to be involved here? I know there are different committees or subcommittees, but maybe just a cumulative list.
Yes, I can research and look that information up.
Yeah, that's a good point, because though I think we've struggled a little to keep the ranks full, if we have turned someone away that was a good candidate, we'd certainly want to let them know about a possibility, right? An opportunity. So is there another hand up?
I believe Kenya had her hand up.
Okay.
Yeah, so one of the things that I proposed last year that, we could probably revisit was the type of recruiting. So I think I wanted to focus a little bit more on regular people because most of the recruiting efforts are internally. And so one of the things that I was noticing was that those individuals, although super experienced and coming from a really good background with working in this area, they had other commitments. And so I felt like the turnover rate could be a little high. And for me, this was my first real committee, and I didn't hear about it internally. So there's, to me, a lot of other me's out there that just don't know about this. And that's why it's so difficult to, have the membership that we would desire. But then what came into question was how were we going to recruit those members? And I know that we did discuss the college campuses. For me, it was groups maybe on Facebook, just social media aspect where people that are young and interested in this kind of in this kind of work are just curious, are wanting to make a difference. I felt like, especially last year and the year before, there were a lot of people who were interested in doing something. They just didn't have anybody to put them somewhere. So those are the people that like I wanted to focus on. But again, the method of recruiting them was kind of where we left off.
Okay, good point. And Monique, I guess as we go forward with the recruiting and marketing for CAB, that's something to keep in mind. And I think that's probably an ongoing thing, right? It's not just a one-shot comment. I think, now, Kenny, I just got to tell you, your hand, when you raise it, must be getting hot because it's sitting in the candles when they're burning. And that's why I couldn't see your hand, just so you know, on the background there, because it looked like part of the candles.
Yeah. So I know Dale has his hand up, but I'd like to make a comment real quick if I can. Sure. As far as the outreach for social media, and Nikini, I do remember you bringing that up. So your body doesn't have a Facebook or social media account specific to the CAB. We do have the YouTube videos, but for like Facebook, what we've said to people is that if you'd like to, you know, provide the notifications to your friends on Facebook or your contacts on the other social media platforms, you are welcome to do that. And then you will have people that can show interest, but we only can do it from the email list or partners and providers, because that's who we are in contact with. So you could do it on a personal basis for Facebook and Instagram and maybe Twitter, because we don't have accounts with those platforms for CAB or J either. So that I just want to make note of that. It would be more real grassroots outreach, you know, your friends, families, and then their friends and families. So
yeah, with flyers though.
Yeah, yeah. And flyers have been done as well, because I know Crawford did flyers at the community college, but that is something that should be ongoing. And I agree, you know, you do it more of a grassroots approach of recruitment. So, yeah, I think Dale had his hand up. So
yeah, I know Dale, that. Yeah, go ahead. I know that we've had difficulty in getting people from West County, and I know Crawford. My goodness, Crawford, you did a lot of contacting and outreach for West County. And the thought has occurred to me, even though I'm in Central, if I have a contact or I know someone any place in the county, I should try to remember to pass that information along.
So that is a good point. And Joel, hopefully you're still on the call, because I can't always see who's
he is.
Yeah. Joel, any advice that you would have on recruiting out of West County, it would sure be appreciated as well.
Yeah, no, I dropped something in the chat just because I heard two different, you know, sides of the coin. One is like more growing your following when you're talking like social media and things of that nature. And the other, when you say recruiting, I asked if there was a target number. Are we just trying to get more members on CAB? Are we trying to, you know, survey the community to see what we should or should be, you know, going towards when it comes to direction? I was just trying to get an idea of what we're exactly recruiting for, and then how many spaces there are as well.
Well, you know, that's a good point, because what we're, in a sense, marketing and recruiting for right now would be to fill an alternate role, right? And we don't have a vast number of vacancies. So if we don't want to give someone the feeling that their first involvement would be voting on something, because they'd be in a no voting position until they emerge into that. So do we have, I haven't seen the flyer, Crawford, that you you made, but is it still time sensitive? Is it something we can use right now?
There is a flyer, and in fact, I met with Patrice, what was it? I think it was last week. And I gave her some of the flyers that were left over from when I went to Diablo Valley College. So there are still flyers. I believe they may be appropriate if we want to use those particular flyers. But okay. The information I got when I toured the campus is everything's digital. I would ask them, is there a place where I can put up a flyer? And somebody would say, yeah, would you go to blah.com or this, and hit on this link? And the ladies or the guys would say, we're glad to take your flyers, don't get me wrong, but we need you to go to this link. So we were able to do it both ways. And if I may interject here 1 second, Joel, the goal would be we have one alternate vacancy at this point in time. And then step number 2 is working with Monique, working with Scott. They go through the process of basically saying, this is what we need, and these are the various places we could go. And again, we're still focused, or at least we were, on West County. We have West County cities where we have contact people in our West County cities. We have the state representatives for West County. We have the state senators from West County, and we have the West County Board of Supervisor member. I hope I pronounced, is it Joya or Goya? Goya, okay.
No, so, Joya. The first one, Joya.
Oh, think of joy. Got it now.
Joya.
Joya. Okay, so if we've got all of that, we have the database where we can go out very quickly with emails, phone calls, etc., if we desire. And one more point here, and then because I don't want to take up your time. Joel, are you familiar with the person Stephanie Medley at RISE, R-Y-S-E, West County?
I'm familiar with RISE. I'm not familiar with Stephanie.
Oh, okay, because somebody indicated to us a while back that organization might be helpful to us, RISE, and if maybe you know someone over there being from West County, that would be of great assistance to us.
Okay. Is that the target person to get from that organization, or are we just trying to get one person from West County to sit on the board?
Well, hey, we're not picky. Hey, okay. We'll take all of the above. I will send you this information offline about the name of the group or organization. There's a phone number, there's a lady, and I have the lady's email address, if that would help.
And if I could just make a comment, we have a relationship with Stephanie and RISE. So we have a lot of contact information with RISE, and Stephanie is on our job board. So we could definitely help with that too, Crawford, if you want outreach. And I think, Scott, Nakenya has her hand up first, then Dale.
Okay, I'm sorry. Expressing that. So Nakenya?
Oh, did you have something else, Joel?
Yeah, I wanted to speak to Nakenya's point earlier. I was just asking the questions before I kind of gave the answer from the college perspective, just to see what our target was. But it sounds like we're talking about always keeping the board full and how we can do so in the future as well. Just on the college, if you're trying to target a younger demographic, I do think passing out flyers is okay. We can do that just to give them to me and I'll have them up around campus. But you probably want to target more classes that'll be engaged in this kind of work. So more on the public health or health classes on just that side. I know we also have managers on our end that it's their work to kind of do this and stay up to date on what's going on this side. I don't know if you guys heard of Demetria. That was the last person we had over our incarceration or our returning students just on that side of things. But we can also have her manager participate as well. I just didn't know if we were trying to have a broad perspective or if there was a reason we were going to RISE or for a reason we wanted to get a person from this area just because it will fit our needs more. But if we're just talking about one person and it doesn't matter where they come from in our district, I think that's an easy goal to fill.
Okay, and may I, excuse me for interjecting here. The way we got Michelle Carter was we gave a presentation to Diablo Valley College, and the person there was good enough to get all of the instructors on a Zoom call with us. And so we had the head of the department, the instructors, we used our CAB PowerPoint, and the result was we got Michelle. So it worked. So I'm saying I think we'd be willing to do that in your system if you could direct us to the right people.
Well,
Joe.
If I can interject too, I steered you to the social justice side of the college. So there's two sides. I was like a science student. So I was like in the physics, I was on the completely different side than the social justice side. And that was the side that I wanted you to focus on. And what I think we didn't take into consideration was COVID. So there should have been more of a digital outreach than just on the campus. Some students do go up and down there, but especially for Diablo Valley College, I know that they have they took a section and turned it into a testing site for COVID. So like there's a lot of other things going on that probably, a lot of students probably wouldn't even go up there unless they had to and just do everything online. So the flyers was good. And the professors, unless they were able to make an announcement, I just don't know how they would have been able to recruit that well. And they would have had to make frequent announcements or, having other students like reach out to students or spread the word would have been a lot more effective. And to go back a little bit to what Joe was asking, we were just at that time trying to fill seats. We did not have enough people in this committee to, if one person got sick, I guess we didn't really reach quorum and somebody else had to come in from some other place. And that was, Excuse me?
Oh, I think that was background noise, Nikenya. Yeah. No, that is a very good point. And I'm hoping, and I'm glad to hear all these different avenues and schools of thought. I'm hoping because COVID is pretty much in the rearview mirror, that we may be really successful with, Monique going out and directing some of the actions that she was talking about. It's going to be interesting to see, right? Because we do want to get, a balanced group that have interests here.
Right. Yeah. Scott, I just want to give you a time check. So we have 20 minutes left. It's 12:10. And Dale has his hand up. We're in a good place, though. You're on the last item, and we're working on the work plan. So I just wanted to do a quick time check.
I really appreciate you doing that. And with that, Dale,
yeah, I'll cut my comments down to 19 minutes. I do want to remind us that Lila is in her last year and she's West County. So we're going to be losing Lila. And Crawford, I don't know whether if I rang this up, if we put this up the flagpole, if anyone would salute, but the idea of maybe modifying, whether it would be the bylaws or whatever, that if there is representation from a county that is lacking, and we could say that doesn't have more than one person, if a person could extend one more year of eligibility with us. In other words, if Lila were willing to do it and we needed someone from West County, could we possibly, we can't do it now, but I don't know whether that makes any sense or not.
Well, maybe that's one of our guidelines or bylaws issues. And maybe you and I can address that offline, Dale, because we're still working on those bylaws now. So maybe that's something we can put in there and put a question mark for the legal department.
Yeah, good. Thank
point.
you.
Yeah, you know what? Why don't we do that, Dale? You and I can do that offline.
Okay, thank you.
Great suggestion.
So any other hands up on this item?
No.
Okay. And none of this requires an actual motion, right? This is just routine business for continuity of CAB,
Correct.
right? So
Correct.
we don't need that. But under next steps, before we adjourn here, what would we view next steps to be? Obviously, we've talked in terms of, on other agenda items, updating the guide, the ambassador guide. We certainly are going to start the recruitment process. So Monique, what other items would you see coming under next steps from this?
Well, a lot of it is it's totally up to the committee to determine that. You could always do some sort of a presentation. You could look at, so the majority of your work plan looks like it is about outreach, right? And it has to do with the application process. It has to do with the ambassadors program.
Yeah, it's all about keeping continuity of business issues and communication issues. And I guess when I say agenda item 7, next steps, it doesn't even necessarily have to be about the work plan. I think we may have just really talked that one through, unless there's something. I just want to make sure for the record, if there's something that fits in next steps that you may have thought belonged in there.
Right. What I could do is, what I'll do is I'll look back at what I've generally done is looked back at agendas at this time or around this time from last year to see what you were doing, this committee was doing. So what I'll do is I'll do that. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, so I'll do that. I'll review previous agendas, and then we also have our agenda planning meeting, so we'll get some input there with the chairs. But I'll have some more information to provide for you, before that meeting and during that meeting, and then we can develop an agenda for next month that's pertinent to some of your goals. And the members are welcome to add to that too if they want to provide feedback for something else, because I know what I heard in this meeting is Joel can do some things. We could come up with a process of how that's done, but that's more an action item. So we can work together to plan the agenda.
Sounds good. So the only other item that I wanted to bring up, it's just kind of a housekeeping item. I am on vacation leaving August 24th, I think it is, coming back on September 9th from overseas. And I was just hoping, Mark, that you may be available for that end of August agenda workshop that occurs at the end of each month. Can you attend in behalf of me for OCEC? Did I lose Mark? Well, I'll reach out to Mark.
Yeah, and also what we could do is, he doesn't have the date. So let's look at the date. We could definitely reach out to Mark and see if he's available for that meeting. And yeah, I can provide him with the date. I don't have it handy right now.
Okay. Excellent. Well, if there's no other items of business, no other announcements or next steps to be discussed, I think we can adjourn the OCEC meeting. And is there a way of doing that other than just saying we're adjourned?
Adjourned at 12:17.
Oh, beautiful. Well, thank you, every one of you, for your participation in the meeting. So we'll see you.
Thank
Thank
you.
Thank you guys. Have a great week.
Bye. You too.
Bye-bye.